1. The discovery of humanity's ancient legacy. The V'Kir Dominion was a sprawling interstellar empire that had subjugated countless worlds and species, believing itself to be the oldest and wisest civilization in the galaxy. They had long theorized that they were the first species, the ones who emerged first in the cosmic timeline, and thus held the natural right to rule all lesser civilizations. Their scientists considered it an established fact. No race had been around longer than the V'Kor. When V'Kar scouts first detected humanity in the Sol system, they observed what they thought were the typical hallmarks of a young species. The humans were resourceful, yes, but their spacefaring technology appeared crude and limited to a few planets and moons. To the V'Kar, humanity was no more than a developing civilization, fascinating only in the way all primitive species were. With Earth signals now intercepted and decoded, the V'Kar began combing through humanity's broadcasts, scientific records, and cultural artifacts, looking for any potential signs of development or innovation that might warrant closer monitoring. However, as Dominion scientists dove deeper into the analysis, strange coincidences began to emerge. Patterns in human language, art, and ancient religious symbols were eerily similar to inscriptions found on abandoned planets that the Dominion had long assumed were merely natural formations. And these weren't just faint resemblances. Some of the symbols from ancient human cultures, patterns on cave walls, hieroglyphs, and even religious artifacts, matched precisely with inscriptions on tablets and relics excavated from planets light years away. A few V'Kar historians started to grow anxious, proposing that these patterns were too distinct to be coincidental. Some dared to wonder if humanity might have somehow encountered remnants of ancient V'Kar culture in its distant past. But this theory was dismissed almost immediately. The V'Kar Dominion had never reached Earth before. As far as they knew, no one had. This left only one haunting possibility. The humans themselves were somehow connected to these relics and ruins. Driven by mounting unease, Dominion scientists accessed every archive of lost or ruined civilizations across their empire, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. It was then that they stumbled upon something that shocked even the most skeptical among them: ancient star maps found in both human and V'Kar archaeological sites, pointing to coordinates deep within unexplored space. These maps appeared to be centuries, even millennia old, clearly predating the rise of the Dominion itself. How could humans possess knowledge of places even the V'Kar had not fully mapped? Their inquiries grew desperate as they dug through the remnants of human mythology and folklore, uncovering tales of a great fall, an ancient catastrophe in human history that spoke of gods descending, civilizations crumbling, and a return to darkness. More and more, it seemed as though humans were recounting events that had happened across the galaxy, events they shouldn't have been aware of. The V'Kar Dominion, which once believed it had nothing to fear from humanity, began to realize that humanity was not a young species to be studied and subjugated. Instead, they were a species with a lost legacy, one that might predate the V'Kar themselves. In a hushed, fearful whisper, one V'Kar scientist said what no one dared to say aloud: "We are not the first. They are." This realization was the beginning of the end for the Dominion, as they would soon find themselves racing against time, watching in horror as humanity began reclaiming a birthright lost to the sands of time. 2. Uneasy first contact and humanity's bold response. Convinced of their superiority, the V'Kar Dominion dispatched an envoy to Earth, expecting their arrival would cow humanity into submission. The plan was simple: make a grand show of power, offer Earth protection under Dominion rule, and ensure that humanity would become a loyal vassal. The V'Kar sent one of their finest diplomatic vessels, escorted by a fleet of imposing warships that shimmered ominously against the blackness of space. The envoy landed just outside a small but strategically important research facility in Colorado, where a contingent of human diplomats, scientists, and military leaders had been assembled. From the moment they disembarked, the VQR delegation felt something unsettling in the air. Unlike other species the Dominion had encountered, humanity did not display awe or fear at the sight of alien life or the arrival of an advanced civilization. Instead, the humans seemed calm, too calm. The leader of the VQR delegation, Ambassador K. Thal, assumed this was simply a matter of human ignorance. They couldn't grasp the full power and authority of the Dominion. Confidently, he presented the Dominion's offer in a speech extolling the benefits of protection, technology, and enlightenment. Cathal described the glory of joining an empire that would ensure peace for humanity. In exchange for their resources, obedience, and integration into the Dominion's hierarchy. But the response from humanity was not what the VQR had expected. The leader of the human delegation, a silver-haired diplomat with piercing eyes named General Thomas Caldwell, listened carefully to Cathal's speech, barely moving as he absorbed the words. When Cathal finished, Caldwell gave a slight nod and leaned forward, his voice calm but filled with something the VQR could only describe as confidence bordering on defiance. Ambassador Caldwell began, "We appreciate the offer, but it seems you misunderstand us. We are not a young, vulnerable species in need of protection." He gestured to a screen behind him, and images of ancient human artifacts filled the air. Stone carvings, hieroglyphs, and ancient texts appeared, each one bearing symbols and patterns nearly identical to those the VQR had found on ruined worlds and forgotten civilizations across the galaxy. "Our scientists have found relics and inscriptions that predate the history of your Dominion," Caldwell continued. "In fact, some of these star maps, discovered in caves on Earth, pinpoint coordinates of planets light years away, planets we have no record of visiting in recent history." The VQR delegation shifted uneasily, their confidence starting to erode. Caldwell's words hit like a cold wind. The human diplomat wasn't just rejecting their offer, he was suggesting that humanity had a much older connection to the galaxy than the VQR could have imagined. Caldwell went on to present translations of ancient human myths and stories that spoke of cosmic wars, cataclysms, and distant colonies that had existed before humanity's fall into a primitive age. The VQR began to feel a gnawing dread as they realized that these ancient accounts seemed to mirror events that were buried in the Dominion's own forgotten history. The humans then revealed something even more shocking. Their scientists had recently activated an ancient artifact discovered deep in Earth's crust. This artifact, Caldwell explained, was a beacon, a signal that had triggered long-dormant devices and satellites left abandoned in distant star systems. The Dominion scouts had observed strange signals and shifts in gravitational fields, and now it was clear humanity was awakening something across the galaxy. Ambassador Cathal tried to regain his composure, scoffing as he insisted that this was all mere coincidence, an elaborate tale spun to impress the Dominion, but his voice trembled slightly, betraying his fear. The VQR delegation had never encountered a species that would so brazenly challenge their authority, certainly not one they considered so young. Caldwell leaned back, his calm expression unchanging. "You came here offering protection," he said, "but perhaps it is you who should be concerned." He let the words linger, his meaning unmistakable. That night, as the VQR delegation prepared to return to their ship, they received a final message from the human diplomats. It was brief but chilling. "We do not seek conflict, but we will reclaim our birthright. You are welcome to watch, or to move aside." The VQR realized that humanity was not just another species to conquer. They had stumbled upon an ancient force with a hidden past, one that might very well reshape the galaxy. By the time the VQR Dominion understood the gravity of their error, it was too late. The humans were already taking their first steps to reclaim their lost empire, and the Dominion, for the first time in its history, knew true fear. 3. Humanity's rapid expansion and awakening of ancient technologies. With the revelation of their ancient lineage and the Vikir's unwillingness to challenge them openly, humanity launched an ambitious initiative to uncover and activate any remaining remnants of their lost civilization. Across Earth, archaeological teams worked around the clock, scanning every inch of terrain and deep diving into forgotten ocean depths, searching for clues. What they found was astonishing: relics and artifacts that held data, blueprints, and encrypted messages in languages once thought to be indecipherable. Some of these symbols matched the writing systems found on ruins scattered throughout Dominion-controlled space, confirming humanity's cosmic reach in an age long forgotten. Armed with newfound knowledge, humanity began dispatching exploration fleets, reclaiming systems that had fallen into obscurity. Using ancient star maps as their guides, they followed the faint, scattered breadcrumbs of their ancestors across distant star clusters. Each new planet they reached revealed ruins or hidden structures that had once belonged to the human empire. And on several of these planets, teams discovered dormant technology, massive, silent machines that appeared to be waiting, as though anticipating the return of their creators. On an abandoned world at the galaxy's edge, humanity's scientists uncovered a vast underground city, preserved in stasis and teeming with advanced machinery. Among these relics was a fleet of ancient warships, still intact and stored within a hidden facility beneath the planet's surface. With the help of engineers, human scientists worked tirelessly to revive these vessels, whose systems appeared far more advanced than anything they had yet developed. Within weeks, these ships were once again operational, boasting weaponry and shielding that the Vikir had never encountered. The fleet's technology hinted at an era when humanity wielded unimaginable power, a time when they had ruled the stars and could once more. The revival of these warships signaled the beginning of a new era. Humanity's exploration vessels transformed into military fleets, moving systematically through territories that were once under Dominion rule. Planet by planet, they reclaimed ancient colonies and relic sites, fortifying them as they expanded. The ancient star maps they had discovered on Earth led them to strategic locations across the galaxy. In each place, they found not only more remnants of their past, but also dormant technologies that, when activated, amplified their influence and power. It was as if their ancestors had left them a treasure map, guiding them toward a destiny long forgotten. As humanity's power grew, other oppressed species took notice. Long subjugated by the Vikir Dominion, these alien races watched as humans effortlessly defied the once mighty empire. Many reached out, seeking alliances with the newcomers who, unlike the Dominion, offered them freedom and respect. Diplomatic agreements were struck, and former Dominion subjects joined humanity's ranks, adding their own knowledge and resources to the cause. The Vikir Dominion, faced with an unexpected and rapidly growing threat, scrambled to respond. They sent a fleet to intercept a human colony on the outskirts of their territory, hoping to quell what they saw as an uprising. But when the Dominion fleet arrived, they were met by a defensive line of ancient human warships, their hulls glowing with the blue energy of unknown shielding systems. The Dominion ships were no match. Within moments, the Vikir forces were obliterated, their weapons ineffective against the advanced technology of the resurrected human fleet. In one devastating battle after another, humanity proved that they were not merely reclaiming lost colonies, they were reclaiming their place as a cosmic power. The human ships were fast, resilient, and armed with energy-based weaponry that could penetrate the Dominion's strongest shields. And in each battle, humanity's forces demonstrated a tactical precision and discipline that left the Vikir stunned. It became evident that this was no rebellion. This was the reawakening of an ancient empire, and the Dominion was helpless to stop it. Within a year, humanity's influence had expanded across dozens of systems, and whispers of their unstoppable rise spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had once been silent under the Vikir's rule now openly defied them, emboldened by humanity's swift and decisive victories. The Dominion's territories shrank as entire planets joined the humans' cause, eager to see the Vikir's reign end. As humanity's reclamation reached a fever pitch, rumors began circulating of a colossal fleet of human and allied forces massing near the Dominion's core worlds. This formidable armada, composed of ancient warships, modern human vessels, and the ships of their newfound allies, represented the full strength of humanity's reborn empire. In a final, desperate attempt to stave off their inevitable defeat, the VCR called for a truce, offering terms of peace and coexistence. But humanity's response was cold and unyielding. General Caldwell, once again addressing the Dominion's leaders, stated with calm authority, "The galaxy remembers the VCR as its rulers, but we remember what came before. We remember the legacy we left behind, and we intend to reclaim it not for power, but for freedom." As humanity's fleets prepared to advance on the Dominion's homeworlds, the VCR realized their place in history had been irrevocably altered. The galaxy would no longer know them as its rulers, but as the ones who stood in the way of the original elder species, who had returned to lead once again. In their arrogance, the VCR had failed to recognize the truth until it was too late. Humanity was not a young, naive species, but a powerful empire reborn, reclaiming its birthright one star at a time. 4. The revelation and the fall of the VCR Dominion. The final battle came sooner than anyone had expected. As humanity's fleets expanded their reach, the VCR Dominion scrambled to hold onto the galaxy it had once ruled, unchallenged. For centuries, they had seen themselves as the supreme power in the galaxy, an empire forged in the fires of ancient wars, and yet, they had overlooked a critical truth. A truth that, until now, had only been whispered about by a few forgotten historians in the deepest corners of their archives. Humanity was not new to the stars. They were the original elder species, the forgotten architects of an ancient interstellar empire that had been lost to the passage of time. The VCR leaders convened in their grand citadel, a towering structure on their homeworld that had withstood the test of time and war. They were now confronted with the undeniable evidence of their empire's decline, not because of an external threat, but because of the return of a power they had never fully understood. The human fleet, now a sprawling force made up of warships powered by rediscovered ancient technologies, approached their homeworld. Each ship was a silent, glowing testament to humanity's resurgence, and with it, the inescapable truth the Dominion had failed to grasp the full scope of the force they were facing. General Caldwell, aboard the flagship Elder's Wrath, sent a message to the Dominion's ruling council demanding their surrender. He offered them no terms of coexistence. There would be no mercy, no appeasement. The time for negotiations had passed. Humanity had waited too long, had suffered for too many centuries in the shadow of other empires. Now, they would reclaim the galaxy as their own, and nothing would stand in their way. The VCR Dominion's leaders, once so arrogant and self-assured, were now forced to confront a truth they had dismissed for too long. Their power was not eternal, and the galaxy they had once held in their grasp was slipping away. The humans were not newcomers to the galactic stage. They were the original rulers, the progenitors of an empire older and more advanced than any the VCR had ever known. In an effort to save face, the VCR attempted one last desperate measure. They unleashed the full might of their military, a fleet larger than any the galaxy had seen. Their plan was to strike the human forces before they could land on the Dominion's homeworld, to destroy their fleets and assert their dominance once and for all. But as the VCR launched their counterattack, they were met with an unforeseen enemy, the very same technology that humanity had uncovered and resurrected from their ancestors. Humanity's fleets had not only matched the VCR's firepower but surpassed it. The ancient warships, once dormant, now awakened with a ferocity and precision that the Dominion could not anticipate. The battles were swift and devastating. The human fleets tore through the VCR forces, their weapons more advanced and their tactics more honed than anything the Dominion had ever encountered. One by one, VCR ships fell, their hulls breached by powerful energy blasts, their systems overwhelmed by the sheer might of humanity's rediscovered technology. As the final battle raged in the orbit of the VQR homeworld, it became clear the Dominion's reign was over. The capital city of the VQR was struck by a precise strike from one of humanity's warships, a massive vessel that had once been part of the ancient fleet. The shockwaves of the blast reverberated through the city, sending buildings crumbling into ruin. The sky turned dark with smoke and debris, and in the midst of the chaos, the surviving members of the Dominion's ruling council realized that they had no choice but to surrender. On the bridge of Elder's Wrath, General Caldwell stood silently, watching the unfolding devastation. His expression was stoic, but in his eyes there was a sense of inevitability. Humanity's return to power was not about vengeance. It was not about revenge for centuries of oppression. It was about reclaiming their legacy, their birthright. It was about ensuring that the galaxy would never forget the original elder species, the humans. As the last of the VQR fleet fell into retreat, Caldwell sent out one final transmission to the Dominion's remaining leadership: the time of your empire is over. You no longer rule the galaxy. It is ours now, just as it always was. The surviving VQR leaders, humiliated and broken, had no choice but to comply. The terms of surrender were simple: the Dominion would cease to exist as a unified force, and all VQR territories would be handed over to the newly rising human empire. The once mighty Dominion would be dismantled, its people integrated into the new galactic order, one where humans would stand as the undisputed leaders. No longer would they be a fractured people, struggling for survival in the shadows of greater powers. They would once again become the force that shaped the galaxy, as they had so long ago. Humanity's victory was not just military, it was symbolic. The galaxy had now witnessed the return of the original empire, and in the years that followed, the VQR would come to learn that it was not just humanity's technology or might that had defeated them, but their own arrogance. The VQR had failed to understand that when the original elder species returned, they would not bow. They would reclaim what was theirs, and the galaxy would once again be shaped by the will of humanity. And so, with the fall of the VQR Dominion, the new galactic order began to take shape. It was an order where humanity's legacy, once forgotten, once lost, would shine once more, not just as a remnant of a bygone era, but as the foundation of the galaxy's future. The era of the VQR was over. The age of humanity had begun. The council of the entire story. The VQR Dominion, an ancient interstellar empire, believed itself to be the oldest and most advanced species in the galaxy. However, when they first encountered humanity, they assumed humans were a young, primitive species. After studying Earth's artifacts, the VQR realized something startling. Humanity was not a fledgling civilization, but the progenitor of a vast, long-lost galactic empire. Evidence of humanity's ancient interstellar power was found in their ancient texts, star maps, and technologies buried across the galaxy. Driven by this discovery, humanity began reclaiming its birthright, activating dormant technologies and ancient warships scattered across forgotten worlds. As humanity's power grew, their fleets rapidly expanded, systematically defeating the VQR's military forces and liberating planets once controlled by the Dominion. The VQR, faced with an unstoppable force, underestimated humanity's ancient legacy, believing it was too late to stop the inevitable. In a final, desperate bid to maintain their power, the VQR launched an all-out offensive against humanity, but their fleets were easily overwhelmed by humanity's superior technology. As the battle raged, the Dominion's leaders realized too late that humanity was not a young species to be ruled, but the original elder species who had returned to reclaim the galaxy. In a decisive final battle, humanity's forces obliterated the VQR fleet and struck their capital. The remaining VQR leaders surrendered, and the once mighty Dominion was dismantled. Humanity reclaimed their lost empire, becoming the undisputed power in the galaxy. The fall of the VQR marked the beginning of a new era, an era where humanity stood as the rightful rulers, ensuring their legacy as the original elder species was never forgotten again.